games later on this year. Alright, there we are, and we are off.
Well, guaranteed the prize money, we imagine at the very least he could afford it.
See, you could absolutely do that. That's one of the reasons why you should be part of these tournaments, folks. But we have a split, as we mentioned before. Jem didn't bother saving quitting twice to go to Link's house to check that. And Pikapals seems to be heading towards the uncle.
Yep. Alright, I saw like Crystal on Eastern in that map check, and that was all I had time for. As Pika now coming in for just green rupees off the tree pool, and we'll see what the uncle has for us.
Kind of interesting that that's vanilla. All of the random item drops, not going to be that today. Yeah, so more green rupees for both of our runners. Jem's also going to find out that it's green rupees from the bush crab. Not going to waste his time on that.
Yeah, that's a sort of unfortunate thing. As we get an early power glove here off the uncle. Just bombs in the lumberjack tree, so...
Pretty safe to say that Aghanim's not going to blow up our progression today.
Indeed.
Hey, no, we could end up needing him for Dark World access, though.
Yeah, there's still time. While we have that power glove, we lack either another glove or the hammer along with the moon pearl, so we'll have a little bit of work to do as we find a piece of heart where the mushroom normally lies. And now Pika working his way back through the steps we see Jem taking now.
So far, Lost Woods is a bit of a bust. Certainly worth picking up a heart, but definitely not worth hanging around for. Jem seems to be heading back to Link's house. I'm wondering if he's going to take the southwest path towards Kakariko.
Actually, it looks like he's going to push north now, but I had been more under the same impression as you as well.
Yeah, that is one of the nice things about open mode is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you're still playing the Link to the Past randomizer. The big difference is that you don't have to do the exact same thing every time.
And so, immediately, we're seeing both these hunters kind of double back on their convergence. The stingy rupees and bombs this early, really giving Jem hesitation, or giving him pause, rather, on getting into the village, but probably the step here, as he doesn't really have equipment enough to deal with much else.
Yeah, you definitely want to be able to buy bombs if you need to, although Jem using some great game knowledge to know about the 50-50 bomb rock just south of Link's house, and you may even end up grabbing some of the bushes over here on the way past Grove, which there are two of them that you can get a bomb drop from.
Yeah.
Those
Pikapals passing up a 50-50 on the way into the village. That's going to be interesting. That could end up costing him a little bit of time in this opening.
Yeah, particularly if he drops into Well or Thieves' Hideout and doesn't have that bomb, and ends up coming back there anyway.
And Jem gonna work it out. There goes our Moon Pearl out of the well, the single arrow, the Bombos medallion, and the flippers. My.
Wow, if you were considering the fake flipper, it got invalidated very quickly after you got that Moon Pearl.
Yeah. If we get a glove and a sword, we have 5-minute Ice Palace access.
Yeah, if we can just get Titan's Mitts, we can get in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, otherwise, yeah.
It's pretty goofy. Stono Bomb's coming in the pool for Pika. So, playing the 50-50 is gonna be some benefit to Jem here. Although,
yeah,
with only those two bombs, he's gonna need at least one more to get through. Well, there we go. Pika may end up bailed out if he decides to go to the tavern first. But he is going to drop the rupees on. So, interesting.
Well, looks like Jem found some more rupees in the chicken shack. Not quite that 100 we're looking for, unfortunately. But it will be enough to buy bombs if we really need to.
And now with that 3-pack, he's going to be pretty well off here, and with some of the predictable rupee placements in the opening round, he's going to be just fine for that bottle vendor.
And this is Jem's first look at the cave. He did just pick up his Pearl, so Jem and Pearl making a pretty good sentence out of it. But with the items that we have, I'm kind of wondering how long it'll take people to head through South Shore to the east. I can't imagine Agina is a likely play for anybody here.
Yeah, well, right now, bombs being your only weapon is going to probably have a little bit of influence here, but now we're going to see our runners kind of converge in the blind space. We'll see if this last chest here gives us a bit more direction. Just more bombs. Well then.
And looks like we'll get a save and quit out of Jem, so Jem is done with Kakariko 6 minutes in. He has escaped. Kind of par for the course for a standard race. He's in the sanctuary we might expect him to be.
Indeed. So with that power glove, gonna hit up the back of Escape. We got 3 items here. He's got plenty of bombs to open that wall.
I feel like that bottle vendor having a bomb bag is one of the most insulting things you can get from him.
For your usual opening concerns, I can see why you'd say that, yeah. You want bombs for your money, not just bomb capacity. But back of Escape, just holding 20 rupees, map, and key, which means the rest of the places for items in Escape are all going to contain items.
Yeah, we've seen people in open mode forget pretty often that Zelda Cell is a thing. And that's, a pretty annoying place to walk to. We probably will end up seeing it pretty soon, though, I think after Ice Rod Cave and maybe even Agina's Cave if somebody really wants to walk all the way out there. Question in chat about Link's movement. When you don't have boots, the best way that you can possibly move is a thing we like to call an NMG called pumping. When you're moving left or north, Link starts his walk animation at 2 pixels per frame and alternates at all times between 2 and 1 when you're moving in cardinal directions. When you're moving down or right, it goes from 1 to 2. So you get a maximum amount if you mash certain directions like left and up or, holding down while you're holding left, that sort of thing.
Yeah, one of the more highly interactive strategies in the game.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to mash, but I mean, you do gain probably as much as 7 or 8 seconds across the entire run just doing it. It's kind of like pumping in Super Metroid. There's no reason not to.
Right, and ultimately no punishment overall, just you didn't get the benefit.
Yeah, the best place to take advantage of that, honestly, is the area just outside of Eastern Palace, or even on the ladders. Any ladders you're on, you're going to benefit a lot from pumping. Well, looks like Pikapals is on the way to Mini Moldorm here. He's got his 5 items. Powder so far. Boots.
Boots. $50. Not bad. And 300 more to go with it. All right.
Wow, the value.
Yeah, with those boots, I can't imagine he won't make the trip all the way around the lake. Often one of the gating items to get that check-in early. And we see Jem after doing the dam for not much. Gonna head over here as well with a fistful of bombs.
Yeah, and Pikapals here and Jem will shortly be pretty close. I'd say within striking distance of Zora, depending on how we plan on getting the rest of those rupees. Waterfall Cave is usually pretty reliable to give you some. Unfortunately, missed bomb here for Pikapals.
Yeah, with the Power Glove in hand, you might see the runners play it safe and just grab those 20 rupees each trip into the cave right outside of Ice, but instead we find Pikapals gonna save and quit.
Being that it's so few rupees, I'm kind of surprised he didn't just do that. But, I mean, could take a minute to do that, and that's time you don't want to give on someone like Jem.
Yeah, for Pikapals, I think the choice here is to go to Dam, and then he'll probably route it right into Agina.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot easier to do that if you have the boots. Boots giving us much faster, path to that. We were talking about movement before. When you're dashing, you're moving at 4 pixels per second, or 4 pixels per frame, excuse me. And that speed's considerably faster. As long as it doesn't cost you too much time to charge up, it's always preferable. And I got a bad habit of saying per second with that. But Ice Rod Cave here, first look at it from Gem, bomb bag, still disappointing us so far. Oh,
we get the water walk. All right.
You gotta love to see that. Unfortunately, Gem didn't set it up in the lower portion, but he's going towards the portal anyway. He seems to be heading up towards the mountain?
Maybe checking Lumberjack now that he has boots. Or no, of course, Bonk Rocks. What am I saying?
Yeah, there are 2 boots locations.
He already looked at Lumberjack. Yeah.
Thankfully, those are bombs today, so we're probably not touching that. Big 20, though, just for measure.
Yeah, real smart routing here for the Bonk Rock. We'll see. Looks like he will head back and continue with putting those flippers to work. Meanwhile, Pikapals making his way over to the Eastern Palace area, gonna check the back of Sahasrahla, and likely the first at least 3 or 4 chests here out of Eastern Palace.
It feels somewhat likely that we're gonna find a fire source pretty soon. I gotta think that's our path to the mountain. Either that or maybe Flute.
Well, those would be the 2 options at this point, but we'll see if something like Book doesn't show up first.
Yeah, that's always a possibility. We do have the boots, so we're not worried about locking.
Alright, and Gem now gonna isolate Zora, being just a few rupees short now. Meanwhile, Pikapal is being awarded with some rupees for his check in Eastern. It's going to kind of set him up a certain way that maybe, somewhat ironically from the beginning of the seed where he had to buy the bombs, he might end up with the Zora money and the trip there first, as Gem is now going escape.
Yeah, a good point to mention that Pikapals can pick up those rupees in here, and there's a big stash of them in the back half.
Yeah, those along with some of the ones under pots here are gonna be more than enough to push him along.
I would guess that if he's gonna skip those pots, he's probably heading for the ones in the room by gifting with greenies. Looking like some minor problems here for Gem with these bomb kills. Unfortunately, in the escape sequence, bomb kills don't always work the way you want them to.
Yeah, it's going to be a source of some frustration here. But with the amount he has left, Believe can just get by.
Absolutely. Yeah, he can definitely kill the green guard in the next room and the blue guard in the one after that. You probably just throw pots, I think, for the basement.
Absolutely. At that point, barring a better item pickup, it's going to be the requirement. Oh, and the Titans mitts.
I mean, whether or not he gets the item in the basement, that's definitely a victory for him so far. It's a pretty decent chance that Pikapals won't be in a hurry to head towards the escape if he has anywhere else he can go. So the longer that Gem has this Titan's Mitts before Pikapals, the longer he can take advantage of that and do better routing.
Yeah, of course, with our Moon Pearl in hand, gonna be able to bring it out of the sanctuary and just get right into the Dark World, Village of Outcasts, Skull Woods. Even with the mitts, be able to start up the Smith chain. There is one item in the dark, but of course, lacking the lamp, it's not in sequence. Speaking of which, Pikapals pushing through the dark rooms here in Eastern.
Yeah, you would definitely hope for this to be a bow, seeing as we have everything else in here besides that back item. It is bombs. I'm not sure if there was an item on Armos. I believe somebody was saying in chat there was, but at that point...
Cool! Fire Rod out of King's Tomb. Having those mitts, being able to get that other boots location here. Really sharp awareness. I believe we're going to see him dash right over to the place where he could put that to use. Of course, lacking a sword, going to be thwarted by the moldy curtains of Skull Woods.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you can put them off the flame, but you can't cut the curtains without just the simplest of cutlery. Gem in a pretty weird bind. Although, you know, Ice Palace, possibility, I mean, Fire Rod would make that easier. We can't obviously, of course, finish it without the hammer, and there's quite a few locations in there. I don't think anybody's going to want to do that, but if Gem did it, I mean, maybe he could find something clutch.
Yeah, the first chest, at least, is open. What a strange route this will have ended up being if that is required. But yeah, Gem gonna stock up on the bombs, get the map checked. We got Turtle Rock 6, Pod 5, Penance, Thieves, and Ice Palace. So not likely to see Ice Palace at all.
We think. At least we think we won't see it. It doesn't appear to be required.
At the very least, these runners won't be signing up for it. Now we do have Pikapals playing up to the Zora area, and with more than enough rupees, we're gonna see that that isolated item for Gem is gonna end up playing it big here.
It's nice to be able to see this Zora check with boots, and Gem, of course, taking these easy chests. You know, why not? Even if it's a you know, pendant, it's still much better to just knock these out when you can reach them. I'd be surprised to not see him head further back. Actually, well, we don't really have anything we can use to kill blind, though, do we?
Not yet, no. Also lacking the hammer, going to be another disincentive there. Just a heart piece off of Zora now. Gonna set Pikapals back rupees and time here. Sanctuary Heart coming in for Gem here. Sort of unfortunate as he wanted to get the Death Warp set up. It looks like he will opt out. Oh, and almost not picking up the chest. Yeah, no, what a rough front of Thieves Town here.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the worst thing that can happen. The one time you can actually, you know, get Sanctuary Heart, you know, there's not that many opportunities to get Sanctuary Heart, you know, a very rare item out of the entire pool. And it just so happens to kill the one thing you're trying to do, which is to die.
Ether now coming out of the C-shaped house. Maybe it's the E-shaped house today, like a lowercase e.
I dig it. I was trying to think of another pun, like maybe like C-shaped, like lightning, but I think that was better.
All right. And so now Pikapals running low on locations does end up going to escape. So he will pick up that Titan's Mitt. Gonna also be kind of forced to the bomb strats here. And an interesting demonstration from both runners, at the very least, to put one of the more, say, traditional weapons, but yet more uncommonly used weapons of the Zelda series to work here.
Yeah, that's a fair statement to make. You won't see even MG runners do much of anything with their bombs unless it's to open something up. And even then, it's much better to dash bonk wherever you can, as the fuse does take some time. It appears that Gem may be digging something in a... Well, he had some kind of image going on. I think it might have been a boat. Or he could correct it later. There are only so many chances for creative expression in A Link to the Past, besides your movement. And dig game is definitely one of them.
Yep. But yeah, just a single rupee coming out of there. Now, Gem's gonna dash around with his frog in tow to check a couple other locations here. Of course, lacking Mirror, not able to make the most efficient drop-off, so having some fun.
Yeah, definitely gets the advantage of seeing more of the Dark World sooner. Pikapals had a bit of a time deficit in that regard, but for the most part, you know, these runners aren't that far, you know, considering what they've done. I think Pikapals going to Eastern really throwing them back a bit, though.
Oh, and it looks like Pikapals may have dropped one of the pots facing off against the Green Guard.
And that's still really smart, though. I mean, you definitely don't want to, you know...
Yeah, you don't quit out of that. You just reset the room and try it again. That's an unfortunate situation to be in, though.
Well, it is time for HUD from Gem. The Thief's got 20 for us. We have a piece of heart giving us a full refill, 5 rupees, the hammer, and more cash.
All right. Well.
Also, with that hammer, finally have a weapon.
Yeah, a consistent weapon. And it looks like we will see Gem take it over to the bridge here.
I'm kind of wondering where he must be going to Catfish, because you can't actually go pick up Kiki at all.
Yeah, you can check the pyramid, maybe get all the way up to the Catfish. I don't know if the frog and the Catfish have ever met on stream.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a first for everything. Perhaps Gem is a trailblazer attempting to be the first of... Ooh, that's a bottle.
That's going to be... all of this is just going to route so nicely for Gem. He's got that bottle. The first bottle of our seed is going to be useful back in the village, where he's going to be taking the smith in a little bit anyway. The only thing that could possibly like spice this up any further would be if the flute comes off a Catfish.
Yeah, that would be pretty exceptional.
Meanwhile, Pikapals heading into Skull Woods. Now, I did not notice if he went to King's Tomb for that fire rod.
I'm gonna guess that he did. I know that's tough. We'll get a look at his menu, because better safe than sorry on that. But yeah, that'd be a big reason for him to be back here.
Yeah, apart from the chest largely being considered sort of overworld-like, but we're having chat confirm he did not.
Well, the good news for him is that he only loses out on one item because of that. Those curtains we need to cut are in the back for Mothula. There is still that one chest that you can get in the back half. But if we find the 2 items here anyway, no big deal.
Just the forcible key here. And that Catfish play for the bomb bag, so not too much, but peace of mind. Meanwhile, shovel for Pikapals.
Well, if you were hoping to build up your progression in the seed, you may actually be digging down for your progression in the seed. We'll find out in a little bit. It may take a little bit before we make that route around. Although I know a lot of runners in this tournament and many others have always been eager to grab that shovel item ASAP.
Yeah, given the proximity to Link's house, it's an easy one to just get out of the way. Only unfortunate here that the mirror isn't going to crop up for Pikapals. As we see Gem get another item checked off the list. Checking the bat, and what do we got? Just a heart.
Our friend Alfred the Bat going to give us a little bit of love today. Unfortunately, this is not a situation where we need to call on Robin or something like that. We don't have the flute yet. Time for that stick kit check, though. Gem has heard about the cold wind blowing down from Death Mountain, deciding to bring him his powder... wow! I'm gonna get a lamp for it.
Yeah, how about it? Sick kid stole the lamp off the old man in the cave. Got sick for it.
Well, that fire source, you know, we already had the fire rod, although Pikapals may end up finding that lamp before he gets the fire rod, depending on how he routes the rest of this. We know that the fire rod was in King's Tomb, which is a pretty one-off location for a lot of people. But with that fire source, we could definitely do the dark rooms if we had any questions before. I don't think we did.
Now, Gem really appreciating the hammer here. Gonna dive into Thieves Town now. Gives him a way to kill Blind and also, of course, a way to that big chest. We had just one item come out of the front of this dungeon earlier, as Pikapals now gets underway with the Smith Chain.
This is quite the world tour. I didn't realize that frogs could really croak that well. They would be, booking all across Hyrule, but Pikapals is definitely going to take his Smith quite a long ways as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he ends up taking him all the way to Catfish as well. I think, in general, runners tend not to play to Catfish unless they can route it in, but they have different criteria for that can I route it in part.
Yeah, Mirror definitely changes that equation for a lot of runs.
And our sword at 25.43 for Gem out of the top of Thieves Town.
We're no longer terrified of dashing straight through rooms.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge relief not having to, as you mentioned, be quite so careful, along with enabling us to item dash now.
Some pretty nice game knowledge from Pikapals here, knowing that if you go to the bomb vendor, where Link's house is in the Dark World, you can actually get full bomb refill by buying those bombs. I'm not sure exactly how the rupee conversion on that works, but yeah, if you want to just stock up for the rest of the race and you're already over there, great time to do it. Gem picking up the blue goo next to the maiden. Great find, actually. If we end up
both of our bottles so far extremely helpful if they come into need.
And looking at this, I could definitely see him taking advantage of that in Skull Woods, which is not very far from here.
Yeah, especially now having that sword, he's going to be able to complete that dungeon. Being in the neighborhood, I can't imagine he'll go anywhere else first.
Well, as many of you already know, this is something of a scripted fight. If you do the same things every time, it'll always behave the same way, as Blind does follow that path regularly. It's the timing that really matters, and this third cycle that Gem's doing is usually where people kind of let it go, but that's a near textbook fight.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely perfect. Took no damage. Getting that green pendant off of Thieves Town.
Now, Green Pendant, of course, takes us to our favorite friends, Sahasrilla, Sarsaparilla, Scooby-Doo, whatever you prefer to call the guy. And that will give us one item in return for that. It is a bit of a roundabout to get there, though. We don't have the flute yet, so it'll take us quite a while without that mirror, either.
Gem making the reasonable stop here at the hammer pegs. All the more glad to have that sword as he can dash through.
Yeah, that's interesting. You really can't do that without the sword, even if you have everything else. Just a strange quirk about how Link moves. Something to keep in mind, folks, is that this is actually based on the Japanese 1.0 version of A Link to the Past, which is important for several reasons, mostly so that we can do the speed tech, the stuff that's fun. Oh, Gem pulling off the fence dash! Hypest moment of the day, I gotta say it. Okay, maybe not, but, NMG fans out there, you love that.
Yeah, it's a pretty specific set of inputs to make sure you don't just bonk off the edge there, from what I understand.
Hey, I hear up and A is discouraged in some Zelda games, but that's all you gotta do to get a fence dash.
Yeah.
Moving on, though, Pikapals has completed a very long world tour. I think this Smith is ready to kick his feet back up and count his record sales. In the meantime, Pikapals will check Magic Bat himself, and Gem making more progress in Skull Woods. Pretty frustrating to be with a fighter sword only, but definitely better than the alternative. Oh, and also worthy of mention is you see the link showing up in chat. We also have a German restream of this as well in Deutsch at twitch.tv/speedgaming Deutsch if you speak the language and you're interested in hearing that cast as well.
Yeah, it's been one of the more exciting developments in the past few months here on Speed Gaming, is really establishing a bit more of a sort of international presence, being able to, since you are all from everywhere, being able to deliver these great races to you in fashions that are perhaps more amenable to you. Unfortunately, no French restream for this race today, as they do have their French tournament going on, if that interests you, at Speed Gaming Francais.
Which, it's fantastic that we get to reach so many different voices in different languages. I think that's really the future of these things. Speed gaming is a worldwide matter, and this chat reflects it already. I mean, you guys come from all over, and we're excited to see you here to watch this tournament. Jem here in a position to make his Moth of the Flame reference with his fire rod. He may just end up trying hammer strats. He doesn't have a lot of magic. This is a fight that can go sideways real quick. And right now, Mothio's hanging out on the sides and the corners. This would be kind of the situation where Fire Rod would be useful. You can unstick him from the wall. But you don't want to waste your shots either. So, I don't know. Maybe Jem is waiting to use that potion.
Yeah, I should think so. He's got the red potion. Gonna go at it with the hammer some more. If it comes down to it, he's got the blue potion, and that might, oh, he won't need it. As another sword here, out of the back of Skull Woods. Given the curtain blocking you from entry, that is guaranteed to at least be your Master Sword, as it was here.
It's always fun to see a sword locked behind a sword.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's going to bode nicely for him in that he doesn't have to head to the other chest in the back there that you made mention of earlier. Circuitous, to say the least.
Speaking of pointy things, I think it would bow well if we find that bow and arrow already. I mean, there's a lot of things we're looking for here.
Well, we'll see what comes next, but I think Jem's going to be heading up the mountain, rescuing the old man. We'll see what Spectacle Rock holds for us.
For a second, I forgot that fighter sword was in Thieves Town. I was about to say, are we going to see a hammer blind from Pikapals? Something that some people do anyway, actually. It's kind of a funny-looking fight.
Yeah, but blind, of course, having that unusual damage table just takes 9 hits, 3 sets of 3. So the hammer, having a shorter hitbox than the fighter sword, in a lot of ways, not preferable.
Well, as you mentioned, we have this old man check, and Jem, thankfully, with Master Sword in hand, doesn't have to worry about those dead rocks using Master Sword beams. Big 20 is our tip for bringing him back up the mountain. I'd say it's alright for a reward. Not quite what we want, but if you were tipping somebody to help you up the flight of stairs.
Oh. Another fun movement trick here from Jem, taking the bomb up the stairs. We got our third bottle. Jem's going to pass it up. Blue goo there. But once we have that first one, not too much incentive on the rest.
You know, it's interesting that Jem did that bomb carry, as you mentioned. There are actually other ways to do it. You can do that carrying any item. Link does not really respond well if you're holding something in your hand. Pikapals here, unfortunately, forgetting that he doesn't have that key.
Yeah, a slight detour here. Not going to cost him much time, but the key turned out to be locked in the chest inside.
Oh, it's Sarsaparilla time. He's going to give us our red suit.
Yeah, and we're almost to our second row of hearts, so these runners are going to be relatively safe for the duration. Jem actually just finally making its way over here, so that's a, 33% extra efficiency on that check.
Yeah, might as well cover more than one base while you're doing it. And it looks like Pikapal's fight's going just fine, so he's got some decisions to make about where he wants to go after this as well.
With that sword, I wouldn't be surprised to see him dive for his first crystal as well. I don't know that anyone has turned in that shovel yet.
By the looks of things, I don't believe so. Oh, we get to see more really nice, spin speed and then bomb carries from Gem there in the eastern area. That's actually very obscure speed tech, so I'm glad to see this being put on display by both runners. All of these small time saves like spin speed and other stuff you'd expect to see in NMG.
Yeah, it is the race, so we gotta go fast. Gem's gonna finally clear through Eastern. We know that nothing too important comes out of here.
Yeah, and we know that Gem's going to be wasting his time here in Eastern for the time being. Without this bow, this is pretty much a bad place to be whatsoever. And Pikapals is going to have a little bit of time to kind of make up some ground from the previous Titan's Myths deficit. Well, we have the purple chest in tow, and the fastest way to get to that location in the desert, the Thief in the Desert, is to save and quit to Link's house. We have a pretty straightforward path there. Unfortunately, no mirror, no book. We're not going to be able to check that Bombos tablet.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm surprised to see the play for chest instead of the play for Skull Woods with the crystal.
This is very much one-off compared to that.
Just bombs coming out of the box.
I wonder if Pikapal is kind of reading the seed, may feel he's a bit behind here.
That could be. Perhaps feeling a bit worried after the somewhat later escape check, but also could have been thinking of grouping it with this. We called that check a one-off, but he was able to relatively decently route it into his dig check.
Yeah, that was certainly quick to do. Also, Gem's going to find out pretty quickly here that we are done in Eastern Palace. Where he goes from here, since he seems to be kind of limiting where his item locations could possibly be, that's kind of up to him. He seems to be looking for a Death Warp, so he seems to want to be on the eastern side of the of Hyrule.
Yeah, I would imagine he'd be taking us right to the Palace of Darkness. He's got plenty of rupees. He's got that hammer. He's got that lantern. He's got a bottle with a potion in it, even, if he wants to execute that glitch.
That's actually a really good setup for that.
Yeah, and lacking the mirror, gonna do the Eastern, then the pod play. Of course, people who watch a lot of these races will probably jokingly tell you, but the mirror's just in pod anyway.
Oh, that would never happen. Not like vanilla flippers in Turtle Rock, right? There have, of course, over every version of the game been some tendencies everybody's noticed, and those are a couple of them. I mean, on the bright side, we don't have to find the lamp in here.
Yeah, that's always a well-welcomed one.
Pikapal's having a little bit of difficulty with that statue, unfortunately being just off-center. Just gonna knock out of the way and continue onwards.
Yeah, he'll end up being glad he gave up on that as he gets his second item off of Mothula.
It looks like Pikapal's dashing all the way through his first room of the back half. That's actually like a really annoying RNG to deal with. Probably the most difficult room of the dungeon with the Gibdo Hellway. And he's just going to burn and nade everything.
Yeah, both of our runners not having too much concern for their magic meter in this back half, knowing that if they have to, they can pull off that hammer Mothula fight.
We also, on Gem's screen, saw that he got a small key from that first chest, which means we can progress through the dungeon without the bow. We still may end up sequence breaking, though.
Yeah, we'll see. If it comes to it, Gem may elect to drink that potion and then put a camera glitch to work in order to fool the game into thinking the Mimic room is empty. Because now Pika gonna opt get a Fire Rod shot in. Oh, missing the second one. Now out. Low on health. He does have potions, but he is risking it.
I'm very curious to see that he's going to try to default to spin strats. Right. That spike just saved his life.
Yeah, it looked like he was about to eat some fire instead, but having the iframe, and just one hit away, he knew his damage well to be reaching in with that spin.
Hey, I mean, there's the clutch for you. Pikachu comes through. It sounds like I'm watching the Pokemon Marathon, to be honest with you. That was pretty fun. But dependable or not, Pikapals makes it through Skull Woods, moving on to the next venture. And I'm kind of curious as where we're going to see him head next. Palace of Darkness does seem to be the play. Oh, yes, also on Gem's side, we are seeing the camera manipulation glitch. Because this room is loaded in on the same, I guess you'd call it a super tile, before we entered the room, we could drink a potion while kind of scrolling it left to right, and that'll unlock the camera in that room. By pulling the mimics off screen, we were able to trick the game into thinking they were dead, and the door just opens. So you can do that without the bow.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff, and gives you a little insight into the way the game was programmed.
Though I believe our only reward was a mushroom, wasn't it?
Yeah, mushroom from the left side there. Or the right side, rather. Meanwhile, we're seeing Gem gonna push to the back.
Ooh, a hammer yump. So we see him pause buffer there. It's very important that within a few frames of active time there, you actually do place that first bomb down. Gem pulling it off with a number of buffers, but it still saves time over walking the long way around.
Oh, and our third sword now.
I can only imagine if somebody had found their first sword in here.
Yeah, it would have been an interesting play to make over here.
You know, though, finding that sword does, reduce the possible opportunities for progression in this dungeon. Gem and Pikapals may need to temper their expectations. And we also have half magic for Gem here in the basement, so we have mostly completed the dungeon. Really can't get to Helmasaur King without that bow, though.
Yeah, the other Mimic room here, of course, not loading in such a way as to be able to exploit the camera. But what we're going to see from Gem now is a trip for that final item in Escape. What could it be? You know, having the hammer now, we have considerable more of Ice Palace open, but it is still a pendant.
I think I might laugh if this was bow the entire time.
Oh, in the back here, that would be frustrating.
Being that it was relatively accessible to us.
Yeah, Lamp came out off of Sick Kid after a bottle on just a big 20 here.
Alright, well that is some peace of mind for Gem. Gem making his way out. Will have much less to consider now that he's knocked out some of the more annoying locations.
Indeed. He's going to work his way over for his dig spot now. Chat reminding us the first bottle was on Pyramid, so... Yeah, that spot having been relatively early in the progression, but...
Alright, Pikapal's pulling off his camera glitch too. Pikapals here resorting to actually kill one of the mimics, unfortunately having some trouble trying to get it to hang out in the left half of the screen. They do follow your movements roughly 1-to-1, depending on whether you're in the middle of an animation. So what a lot of people do is they'll do sword slashes or charge buffers to try and get the mimics to do what they want, but even then, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, and luckily, getting the pink mimic out of the way, so he was able to finish it anyway. Had it been not been a green mimic left over, then he would have had to reset. But yeah, it looks like, as chat is now kind of indicating as well, Gem gonna be checking off the purple chest play. Wanted to be double sure that he's got that chest in tow, and then when this doesn't pay off, because unfortunately I believe it was just bombs, I think he pretty much only has Zora and Ice Palace left.
Yeah, we're definitely coming down to the wire end progression here. I mean, yeah, we don't have hookshot, we don't have mirror, we really can't do anything on Death Mountain either.
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's a huge number of items that could be available to them with just the hookshot added to the pool. But where would it be?
Well, at this point, I'm kind of hoping for Vanilla Big Key location in Ice Palace at this point.
Arrow upgrade on the Desert Ledge. Probably saw that earlier from Pika, though. And now a trip to Agena.
Well, it's so often ignored by so many runners. Gem here, going to visit the green clad cowboy in the desert. Going to make sure that his 10-gallon hat doesn't go to misuse. Today, it will be just that big 20. I didn't catch it, but did you happen to see if you saw Desert Ledge?
He did. It was just an arrow upgrade.
Yeah, so I don't think we're too worried about the desert area for now. Without the flute and mirror or the book, really nothing at all we can do. This looks a little bit like Gem buying bombs. Does it also look like him taking the plunge into Ice Palace? I actually really like this potion buy from Gem. No reason not to have one.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. You got that red mail, but there's a number of places in the dungeon that react with trap damage rather than enemy damage, and so it doesn't really matter which mail you're wearing.
Yeah, those spikes in particular, but yeah, you can fall into a pit, same story. So very wise game knowledge of Gem to know that having a full heal there may actually make a lot of sense. If you're running NMG, Cold Stare is typically one of the more threatening bosses in the entire run. So Gem may perhaps be remembering some runs he's done.
That's one of our 3 items so far. Zero doing. Looks like Pika gonna opt for that bottle. Out of a Spectacle Rock, gonna have another blue potion. Well, I guess drank the other one to execute a glitch, so he will be back to having one.
No bomb jump attempts from Pikapals here in Spectacle Rock, but we'll take the heal from the fairies, remembering that there are some to the right there, a spot you'd typically avoid. Fun thing in the room the Gem's in right now, if you take a damage from the spikes on the far right of the room, you can actually dash all the way through the center without interacting with those spikes at all. So if you want to get a clear dash through the room, that's one way to do it.
There we go, we have audio from Gem. Fantastic.
And as we jump into Gem's audio, we also get some pen gators, giving him a little bit of trouble, actually.
Oh, Pikapals picking out something that, with that many bottles, yeah, it does become into the logic. Sort of explains his play for the bottle as well. This will be interesting. What is in Spike Cave today?
Oh, no!
No!
He was a pixel too far south. A pixel!
Oh, no! Spike Cave still open.
Poor Pika. Man, that's as brutal as it gets. Pikachu used agility. It was not very effective, unfortunately, although that doesn't really make sense. But we're gonna head back to the back half of Escape and lick our wounds.
Yeah, that one's gonna be off the table for a while now, so we'll have to see just when either of our runners gets back up there. That may have been a saving grace for Jim though just now. As you got your vanilla big key wish here out of Ice Palace.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, you know, doing Spike Cave with half magic and neither of those items, that's a tough position to be in. And had Pikapals found something important there, I mean, that would have been a gigantic swing.
Yeah.
As most runners are very unlikely to check Spike Cave until they have to anyway. To answer a question in chat, there's not strictly speaking a lead going on here. No, you know, crystals.
Oh, the mirror in Ice Palace.
But then again, that may put Gem over. That was the big progression that we were looking for between these two runners for quite a while now. So with that in mind, Gem has a lot more available to him. Overworld locations, can do Swamp Palace. The rest of Death Mountain.
And the Ice Rod out of the Ice Tea Room. Alright, that's all 3 items out of the Ice Palace. And 2 of them are crucial to completing this race.
I'm actually really surprised to see Pikapals doubling down on the potion buys, picking up all the blues he could ever hope for. You know, maybe not listening to the song Blue's Not Your Color, but Pikapals definitely keeping that in the back pocket. I'm wondering if he's going to head back up there quickly.
Yeah, it looks like he has something else in mind for now. Maybe he is making the Ice Palace play.
Well, that's a saving throw for him. Absolutely needed to be on that path as soon as possible to stay in this race.
Yeah, the mirror gonna open up Tower of Hera here for Gem, along with, because of the hammer, the rest of the chests on the Light World side. All but 3 chests on the Dark.
And you mentioned it.
And the bow out of the back of Tower of Hera. Oh my. And not gonna bother with anything else. He's got crystals he can finish now. We just need, what, a hookshot, a cane, and potentially the Quake Medallion.
Yeah, and then we'll have to figure out our desert entrance. Could either be flute or the flute or the...
Oh, yes, yes.
Flute or the book. I don't know why I was drawing a blank on
Right.
that.
Well, if we get the flute for Meyer, we'll be able to get it into desert. However, if the flute is in desert, it means we'll find the book.
Yep, so with those things in mind, Gem definitely going to open up Turtle Rock since he was able to find out just now that it's Bombos. Can't do squat with it, but we'll absolutely take the opportunity to open the door. We don't have Hookshot either, so Hookshot Cave is going to be meaningless to us, except for one chest that is in logic by bonking against a Skull Pot.
Yeah, and I'm sure Gem will not be remiss in checking it.
And being that he has a little bit of extra health, he may actually be able to make that Spike Cave check that Pikapals had some issues with. I don't know if he has potions for it, but in the meantime, we're checking Super Bunny Cave first.
Our 4th bottle, Big Red. Alright.
The game's telling Gem, go to Spike Cave.
Guess so.
I mean, we already found the single arrow of destiny, right?
Yeah, that came earlier on, I believe, in the well. We're gonna get the bonk here for the book!
No way!
Yeah, how about it? A, up.
Oh, and we're getting an overtime from Gem.
Yeah, just a short attempt. I don't know if he will continue. Alright, so the book gets us into desert. We can clear desert. We can clear Eastern. We can clear Pod now. We cannot clear Misery Mire, and we can't even enter it, along with Turtle Rock is open but virtually unusable. So to answer chat, Firing the book in that fashion with the boots is not a sequence break. There is one place in Ganon's tower where the developer intended way to reach a room is to bonk off some rocks and cross a gap. Therefore, any place you can do that is considered illogical.
Yeah, and I guess that ruling kind of emerged from, that Ganon Ball Z room, that restock room at the end of it. Ever since then, you can use boots in logic to get into Misery Mire as well, instead of having to use the hookshot.
It's true, we could find a hookshot out of Misery Mire today. Stranger things have happened.
Well, paradoxically speaking, finding that book did not send him to the desert. He's actually heading to this cave where he's going to climb upwards to go further down the mountain.
Yeah, with 7 items here, the mountain isn't quite finished yet.
Not getting a ton from this cave. Getting his first shield, though, finally. In the meantime, looks like Pikapals is almost done with Ice Palace here. Still got to hit that Ice Tea room. And that would be a crying shame if Pikapals had decided to dip before getting that Ice Rod, though.
Oh, actually, book puts the Ether Tablet in the logic.
Yeah, that's
right
closest
here.
you could hope for.
Yeah. Gotta check this, and then we'll see what he thinks of Spike Cave while he's here.
I figure there's never a better time to do it.
Yeah, with the loadout we have here, you kind of might as well. Just a blue boomerang off the Ether Tablet.
Yo, the payoff, though. Best
It is our first. It's our first stun weapon, at least. So, while the tree pools and the hoarders were stingy, maybe the stun prize will come in big.
10 bomb stack, or 8 bomb stack. 20 rupees. The good stuff. Actually, a full magic decanter, I think, would be perfect. When you have more than 10 hearts, it looks a lot easier.
Just a taunting heart there.
When you have more than 12 hearts, it looks easier.
Pika opting for the their fight. Wanting to cover his bases, I guess, in case this ends up required.
Pretty smart of him with Tempered Sword to use Fire Rod to burn down the shell. It is actually faster than the Bombos animation by a pretty wide margin as far as frames go. And then with half magic, plenty to spare. It makes quick work of Cold Stare. Looking a little bit like, ice cream left out to melt. Where'd he go?
Yeah, nice job on that fight altogether. Meanwhile,
so
Gem now gonna turn in his mushroom.
Yeah, we have nothing to worry about in regards to fake powder or anything like that. We have the powder. You could still do fake powder, but we don't have no need for that. And we don't even have the Canis Maria anyway. Today, the item will be
just some bombs. While Pikapal's on his way up the mountain with that mirror, a natural play. We'll probably see him do just all the same things we just got from Jim. Probably in pretty close to that order, maybe get his revenge on Spike Cave, but perhaps wishing he wouldn't have.
We've been, waiting for this card for months now. We've been waiting for the rematch of the century. Pikapal's gonna delay it, though. He does have the ability to do the rest of the mountain, and he'll get his revenge soon.
Yeah, with the number of item locations available up here, it's perfectly possible, in theory. Of course, we've seen it from Gem's side, but there's more than enough item locations to set Pika well into go mode up here, so don't bother with Spike Cave. It's a terminus of your route. You just get right on with things. So we get the other tablet check now from Gem. Where you normally find Bombos, today we will find what?
Cash money's better than, the alternative. The tablet's not being productive for us today.
Yeah, for what the seed has been, the proclivity for potion buying has been there. So, rupees perhaps having a little bit of an extra value. in this case.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, Pikapals, despite having received roughly the same number of rupees as Gem, has nearly 1,000 deficit to him, or I guess about 800. Really speaks to how many attempts he's, willing to put in to go to the Witch, despite not having Flute, which is actually pretty impressive to me.
And even Gem pulling the more expensive red potion out of the Lake Hylia shop, so... And there's the hook shot out of Desert Palace.
Well, it certainly wasn't a reach that we'd be finding it soon, but with that, we can grapple our way with the logic to hopefully progress to the end here.
Yeah, it's going to let us finish Swamp Palace, which has a wealth of item locations in it.
And Swamp Palace with 6 total would definitely be an intelligent play to make soon.
Yeah, we very well could find the cane and the flute in one place. But Desert Palace itself is not quite done yet.
You know, I know we talked earlier about Pika possibly feeling a little bit behind. He has acquired his 3rd pendant. I find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, really opted in for that. That's, Well, we'll see what that ends up boding. This could be the just most excellent play, or it could be gambling when you're feeling down, going about as poorly as it could. We'll see.
Being that this is a prize tournament, putting the phrase "go for broke" to a new level. Well, we'll find out, like you said, whether that's going to be valuable. He is going to find his book shortly here in Death Mountain. He will actually, in Dark Death Mountain, see Hookshot Cave and get that bonkable item. That will give him every reason to be heading over that pedestal before long. We'll finish up the mountain first, but Gem here is ripping through Desert Palace right now.
Yeah, putting those boots to work quite effectively. Popos stand no chance. But there's a couple of interesting prospects here. We've got both of our Go Mode items left. The cane and the flute could be on the pedestal. The other thing that could happen is it could have been, strangely, a double dip Hookshot Cave. You bonk for your book, you get your hookshot out of desert for the entry, and then if the flute is in Hookshot Cave, that was the only way into desert.
Yeah, flute and Hookshot Cave would be gigantic for this race.
And again, no reason the Cane of Samaria could not also be there.
Well, blinked and you may have missed it. Gem burning down Lamolus with great style. Reading the flight patterns really well. That's one of the most difficult things about the fight is that despite the fact that the first spawn position is constant, the flight path and how long they're in the air completely random. It's the most RNG boss in the entire game, and Gem made it look pretty easy.
Yeah, excellent fight there, and getting correction from chat, apparently the layout for Ice Palace had it cane locked, so...
Yeah, that's an often overlooked part of the key progression of that dungeon. I'll tell you, I honestly can never keep track of that, but basically if you need the Cane of Samaria to access Cold Stare, that tells you whether or not the logic expects you to have Cane.
Indeed.
Pikapals also opening up Turtle Rock, but Gem's the first one into Swamp Palace. In a moment here, he's still got to drain the water first, and then he can enter.
Yeah, and as we were saying, plenty of items to be had here. 6 that aren't dungeon items. We got the obligatory first chest key, and after that, it could be anything.
Oh, nothing holding us back here in Swamp Palace. We're going to be keeping a close eye on whether or not we find any dungeon items, as that may influence the choice to go left or not. If we can, for example, exclude, or if we don't find any before getting to the central room, we may just end up skipping that left entirely.
Yeah, I know that's one of Gem's preferred routes, is to absolutely minimize time on the left side.
It hurts even more if you don't have the hook shot, so Gem in a much better position today than we've seen in recent races, actually.
Yeah, it seems more and more often to be required to get into the swamp without that hook shot, either to find it or to find something that leads to it later. I believe we had something of an interesting one the other day with the hook shot in the big chest of the swamp after the big key was in its vanilla location, so anything possible here.
Yeah, I believe that was Ben and Andy, kind of blurring the races together at this point, but on my end. But yeah, absolutely. Like, the craziest things can happen with swamp progression because of where the hookshot has to be for the dungeon itself, and of course the big key itself, which may or may not even really be required, seeing as you don't need it to open up the boss door as it's already open. Pikapals gonna check his Bombos tablet and be disappointed, but he will get his hookshot soon.
He's gonna find his way into the Desert Palace now.
Hopefully he'll use it to latch on to the progression chain. I mean, it seems like Gem's just got a little bit of a half dungeon advantage on him, or maybe a full dungeon, I guess, and a half.
Yeah, with items at large, it's really hard to call it a lead other than position on the ground. Depending on where our cane and our flute end up, this is anyone's match yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that statement. Very hard to tell until we hit that go mode. We could see something interesting from Gem here coming up in a moment. He's got two, well, 3 item locations to check, but he's heading past a room we like to call the restock room in a moment, which has some hearts you can pick up under pots. If you're looking for health in Swamp Palace and you have the hookshot, if you try to hookshot or boomerang a heart on the ground, sometimes it double heals you. Fun fact if you guys are looking for a little bit of extra edge. But Gem today, not worried about his health, actually has the equipment to do a 0-cycle Argus attempt if he's interested.
Yeah, we'll see if he goes for it. The other thing he did of interest was he got that big key, and knowing he didn't do left side, he's going to opt just to potentially dip back in at the end. I think at this point we are guaranteed at least 1 item on left side, if not 2. I don't think I saw the promise.
Oh, he just barely missed it.
Oh, call it the half cycle. We got the sound without the swirl.
Yeah, unfortunately, the cycle doesn't end until the sound plays out, so it is effective.
Oh, beautiful fight.
You know what, though? I can't complain about that. Gem, very nicely done.
Oh, and the cape now. I don't believe there was anything on the ledge, but technically a logic item for Turtle Rock's laser bridge if that cane is ever found.
And of course, if we're feeling nervous when it comes time to get to Ganon, say we don't have the silvers and we're just like, you know, thinking our opponent's on our heels, maybe it'll be valuable if you want to just guarantee bad RG turns into a 1-cycle. You could use it that way. To answer the questions in chat, we do not know where Flute or Cane are yet. And we know it's not Spike Cave either. Apparently Bumper Cave being confirmed by chat to not be anything of value, so we'll find out. Gem, though, gonna make sure that left side didn't, you know, really mess him up. Or, I'm sorry, the big chest.
Oh, Flute there out of the big chest.
That could have been bad.
And willing to vacate here. I think he's leaving an item?
I think he's leaving a maximum of 1 items. I'm pretty sure we saw everything else. I think we saw 1 dungeon item at least. Nevertheless, though, flute in hand, he will have quite a lot of happy songs to sing after this. He's really only looking for his cane, and he will find that sword. Wait, did you say he found a GBA in there? I heard the 4 swords version was in there.
The 4th sword.
Oh, I misheard you, my bad. So one of these days I'm gonna get enough link cables and GBAs. That's like a version of the game that just never gets played enough.
Yeah, so Gem gonna activate this flute and probably head straight to the mire area. There is a potential hitch in this giddy up if we end up needing that Quake medallion. We are, in fact, 2 items away from Go Mode. And maybe that was Jim's want for getting out of Swamp.
Yeah, the Misery Mire area, I mean, we have pretty much everything besides the medallion that we don't know yet. Certainly makes a lot of sense. I'm inclined to agree. And there are only 2 item locations in the Mire area.
Alright, we're gonna see... Yeah, actually, he's gonna finish up the Pod Eastern combination.
Yeah, I had completely forgotten. We did not have the bow when we were here the first time around, so Helmasaur King plus Armo is certainly an easy combo to do with that mirror. Makes a lot of sense. Pikapals may end up back in the area, but definitely doesn't have to worry about any remaining pendants. He's just going to go into any dungeon he can and clear it. I'm actually bewildered that we haven't seen a pedestal check yet.
I was going to say, and he hasn't gone to cash those in yet, has he? But we'll see if in time he ends up making that play. And we'll see what it ends up being worth to him. Oh, there we go. Gem getting the sword beam to thread through.
Well, Gem's on his way to the back half here, having no major issues with the statue, and as long as he doesn't take any damage, nope. Well, he could have saved a menu in the next room. Unfortunately, no Master Sword beams now, so that stinks. Kind of funny enough, our runners are converging a bit as far as their on-screen dungeon of choice goes, despite some of the differences in the checks they made and the completion they've done.
Yeah, with the Swamp Palace now completed for Jim, that's a crystal ahead and an item ahead as well with that flute. We'll see overall what effect this ends up having as the King of Samaria and possibly the Mire Medallion are still at large.
Wow, Gem making those turtles look like they're a pretty easy room to deal with, although that is probably one of the more frustrating ones in Palace of Darkness. And he has lots of health to work.
Melted it down.
You're saying he melted it down with that butter?
Yeah, you almost wonder if taking a hit earlier was on purpose to make sure Gold Sword hit the Helmasaur King and not sword beams.
You know, now that you put it that way, it's probably worth the menu transition.
Yeah, and even then he had the bow out already, so had no extra menuing to do, as just 2 swipes in the second phase takes this guy down.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should clarify. I mean the crystal switch when you first head downstairs. That would be where you would save the menu, but that Helmasaur King fight looked gorgeous, and I can't imagine Pikapals is going to have much more difficulty with it. He may end up doing some sword spins. I don't know, it's 4 slashes, so I mean, it's really not that bad of a fight either.
He does take him down after a little bit of fireball action.
It's pretty smart, though, to actually tank that damage. Helmasaur King's RNG can be kind of unforgiving, and if you're staying close to that jewel, you can finish the fight a lot quicker, even if you take the damage. You wouldn't see it in an NMG race, you'd be dead if you did that. But Red Mail, 11 hearts, why not?
Yeah, it's one of the more exciting parts of combat in the randomizer, being able to see the unusual kits put to work here and taking the chances like that.
And back to the very first dungeon, Eastern Palace, which happened to be one of the first dungeons we actually entered in this race. Doesn't always work that way. But we have a very fast journey over to Armos, and we haven't really had much use for bow and arrow this game, besides progression, so more than enough arrows to deal with this boss. let alone Pikapals. I mean, Pikapals is sitting on all kinds of stock right now. He's got 44 bombs, 414 roofs. I mean, he's got nothing to worry about besides the fact that, you know, Gem's a dungeon and a half on him. It's a good thing they can't see each other's streams, because honestly, like, if I were in their shoes, I'd be so nervous watching somebody else do this.
Yeah, in some ways it might be more stressful wondering where they are rather than to know.
The addition of IRC and SRL probably enhancing that even more so.
Yeah, knowing there's a place where they will tell you when they're finished, but not where they are. Yeah, setting up the quick.
And of course, throwing one more arrow into the wall just for good measure, making sure the wall gets some too. Gem, however, having no problems with his quick kill. That was pretty good.
Yeah, great stuff. We've got just our 2 crystals left now in Misery Mire and Turtle Rock. We need Cane of Samaria at least, and are probably about to find out if we need that Quake Medallion.
Alright, we are 2 for 2 on fast kills there. Gem, however, has the benefit of having this flute, whereas Pikapals does not. Although Pikapals probably likely to go to Swamp at this point, I mean, or maybe pull the pedestal, I mean.
Yeah, I would see him going to Swamp Palace first.
Yeah, 6 items versus the 1 makes a lot of sense, but afterwards, he will be over by Kakariko to activate that flute. Maybe that'll be the time.
Could be, could be. Yeah, Ether Medallion for Misery Mire means we can get in there and we may find a even a vanilla Cane of Samaria.
Well, Mirror Shield and Checkerboard Cave, nothing really that required. We could pick it up if we wanted to have an easier laser bridge, but honestly, the time it would take to pick up that shield would lose us time on the laser bridge, comparatively speaking, because laser bridge skip not really that difficult overall.
And we're gonna see Gem now heading back to Hookshot Cave. We'll see. And on the right side, pedestal check for Pikapals.
Yeah, what kind of disappointment is he gonna read in Hylian today?
Oh, none at all. He's gonna pull the thing straight away.
Blind pull it is, and today's disappointment is a piece or full heart container. From the perspective of a runner, this is kind of one of those moments where you have to realize, yeah, I'm probably losing this race.
Yeah, there was a lot of time put into getting this pendant, and even the green pendant ended up not being for much.
Now, those of you who are, paying attention to the logic of the seed, we did know before he actually pulled this pedestal that it should not have been an item of progression, the cane specifically, because we knew that we needed the cane for Ice Palace in order to handle all of the key logic in there. So that may be one slight error in, Pika's judgment, but we're finding silvers here in Gem's Hookshot Cave.
Yeah, that's a great find. Not necessarily required, but certainly welcome to speed along the Ganon fight at the end of the seed. And now in the swamp, Pika will go.
Yeah, the good news for Pika is he is on the right track. That is where you need to be. He's going to find his flute, of course, in that big chest, and he could potentially save some time if he runs back through the dungeon towards the big chest. And skips left entirely. That could pay off for him. Or do we find the big key on the left side? No, we found it in the back half.
Mm-hmm. And there is one item left in Swamp Palace, by the way. And if Pika picks up that cane off the left side, that completely changes this race.
Fair point. Bird Toss fans out there might be a little upset with Gem right now, though. He had the opportunity, and Ether Misery Mire did not throw that bird into the water. Left him out there in the cold.
Yep.
Sorry, chat.
No time. Got Ganons to kill.
I mean, fair point. This is a match for money.
Using that fire rod quite effectively on the Wizrobe room here. Misery Mire going to work his way through.
It's a really underrated strat to use Fire Rod in there, because I mean, a lot of people would prefer to use Sword Beams, as that is pretty effective against the Popos, but you do have to get over into some pretty difficult positions and do some difficult dashes. Fire Rod's definitely a Mire 2 you want to learn if you're trying to be fast in this dungeon.
Yeah, ultimately still positioning a huge requirement, but you always have it available versus needing to have your full health when you get in there. Which, probably easier to do in the NMG, but here, with the Rando, who knows what you're coming in with.
Well, moving on to the left side here, Gem does have, Fire Rod to work with, so the next Torture Room, no problem at all. He may even be able to finish this up and move on before the tiles start actually flying at him. And if all works out, he can find the game.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 30 seconds into this race, Gem has reached go mode. We've got all the items we could possibly need for Ganon's Tower, regardless of where that big key ends up.
Yeah, so good news on that one, on that front. We're not going to spend a lot of time really looking for anything besides maybe a small key or two once we find that big key. Well, as our runners finish up their respective dungeons, we're going to see Gem here actually do some spooky action glitches, we like to call it. Something that was discovered this year. You can mess with the game's storage value for altitude and apply that to the Fire Rod's splash damage. We usually set it up using the bird, actually, because it uses the same sprite slot. But then later on, you can use that splash damage from further away than expected. We call it spooky action at a distance because it's a reference to quantum entanglement and all that. There's 3 ways you can use it in sequence in Misery Mire there. Gem saved 10 seconds over doing the traditional bomb route instead. And I think that Zero Cycle Victory saved like 10 years.
Yeah, meanwhile, pretty fast Argus fight for Pika as well. But yeah, when you get those silvers before you hit Vitreous, pretty easy to do. Just gotta aim.
I was pretty happy to see Pikapals do a regular 1-cycle Argus, showing us that the consistency is pretty key. I mean, while Gem did almost pull off his 0-cycle, a lot of folks when they try 0-cycle end up getting 3 or 4 cycles, just kind of messing up the hook dash. So good to see that he played safe on that. That's not going to lose him really any time. Well, we have all of our horses, in order. Gem's heading up to Rock to make fast work of Trinax, hopefully.
Yeah, half magic, gold sword, really shouldn't be an issue.
All the while, Pikapals gets his flute, and he is on his way to the left side. He's a little confused. The small key logic sometimes throws you off when you don't go left.
Yeah, you're gonna have to dive in through here first, grab the key, come back.
If we were to try to quantify the difference here, I mean, we said it was about a dungeon and a half max. I mean, that seems pretty appropriate here. Pikapals having already finished up Argus, and just heading back to the left side. So I call it about a dungeon, maybe 7 minutes tops.
It really ends up depending on what he does after this dungeon. We know where Kane is, so we're hoping he's going to go towards Kane in Misery Mire, but the world is his oyster, unfortunately. There aren't any places in the overworld blocked by the Cane, and so anything that he can check first might come up first.
You know, on the bright side, though, we don't got to worry about checking that pedestal now.
Yeah, he has already gotten that.
Unfortunately, did not lead to a health advantage. Gem having torn through a little bit more dungeon than Pikapals has overall, and a little bit of more comprehensive overworld at this point. has actually a 3-heart advantage on Pikapals. I wonder if Pikapals will be worrying later on, as we get closer to the end of this race, whether or not that spike cave check, kind of did him in. Although it wouldn't be fair to say that one decision was it. While our runners are finishing up their respective dungeons and go-moding Turtle Rock, great time to point out, these guys have been putting on a great show for us. I highly recommend following these runners. Show them some love. Definitely going to find more randomizer content from these guys, and I'm sure they'll be in a lot of tournaments moving forward as well. So show them some love, Jem, Pikapals. Definitely appreciate them putting on the show for us today.
Yeah, as we were saying at the top of the broadcast, to be in the top 8 is already a pretty strong testament to your skill here. And you're seeing it now. I mean, Pikapals kind of going, unfortunately, through all the pedestal steps, but, apart from that, execution has been on point, so...
Well, no Hokoboku, no problems for Jem, having already made it through the more annoying Bunny Beam room, heading towards that Vanilla Big Key chest. Finds a Vanilla Big Key in the Vanilla Big Key chest, and we'll have to revert back the other way around, as it is slower to walk through the other pipe. Of course, that room being a reference to the Mario Brothers series, more pipes.
Yeah, if you don't have the big key when you get to that room, and you're in go mode, bona fide go mode, then pretty much the big key's in that chest. If you're in go mode, skip it, steal your key, it may pay off for you later.
Well, I really can't imagine that we would ever look at Mimic Cave in this situation, but Jem appears to be going the long way around.
Gold sword, silvers, might just be forgetting something. Unless we're forgetting something. Oh,
we needed the
key. Could have been here, of course. We were forgetting something. You don't want to have to double back because, well, you have to hop through a pipe and go the long way, so...
And of course, this next chest form will also be a key. Pikapal showing us the graveyard ledge. I'm not sure if we saw that earlier.
Yeah, I don't think Jem checked there, but no, Jem playing here that had to play through the chance of the small key being in the big chest, and now, of course, got a key on Laser Bridge. Looks like he is fluting to 6 now, Pikapals, and is going to at least play to some of the mire area, if not into the dungeon itself.
Although with how exhaustive he's been at the overworld, it's hard to imagine he wouldn't go in there at this point.
Yeah, there's really not left for him to check. Jem's gonna pull the key off the first chest on the laser bridge, getting the skips in both directions. Very nice.
Sort of rock being a bro. I mean, the big key and small key configuration up until that point wasn't that great, so I mean, maybe that's why.
Yeah, you figure on average you're going to be pulling your key off the bridge, so not so bad. But plenty of health, plenty of magic going into this, the final crystal boss fight. And he's going to take those boots and that gold sword and head to the back. Getting a quick menu in. 1, 2, and 3. Down go both heads. Gives him a hug. Little pat on the tush. And don't blink.
Oh no.
Oh no. I jinxed it.
Honestly though, he was set up though. That's what you need to do to get that fastest possible kill.
Yeah, do your spin, end up on the wall, and in that first couple of turns, Trinex is completely vulnerable across his whole body. But, you know what this means.
Oh yeah, it's time for something, isn't it?
Yeah, get those numbers in the chat. We're going to Ganon's Tower. There's a big key. It can be in one of 22 locations. Give us a number. We're going to go off of Jem's routing. And wherever it is, if you've donated 250 bits to any speed gaming channel, or if you are subscribed to any speed gaming channel, you're eligible for our leaderboard.
Yep, fun little game we like to play. Of course, you know, it's all RNG, and that's the part of the fun. We'll cut this off in just a moment. We'll wait until we get pretty close to the basement, as I think we have a pretty small window for numbers here. But yeah, absolutely. Where do you think we're going to find it today, Politicos?
The way this one's going, I'm going to bet it's nice and early. We might get the 1-2 combo. So I'm going to say 2 with the small key first.
I'm going to guess number 7 today, hoping that Bob survives this encounter.
All right, arrows and a rupee. Oh.
Alrighty, Bob, we'll survive our dash, you know, shenanigans today, because that big 20 on the torch is not going to be worth picking up. Bob, of course, is a reference to the glitched anti-sprite in the room just above Ice Armos, which is fixed if you dash bonk into that torch for some reason. Game's sometimes weird, man.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we call him Bob, but we love him.
5, 6. There goes Arcane for Pikapals. He's got to be feeling the heat at this point.
Yeah, an hour and 31 minutes in, and you know that you're not done with your crystals. I mean, even if you do everything fast here in Mystery Mire, you got to feel like your opponent's already at Turtle Rock or beyond by now.
Yeah, in particular, always a bit frustrating to find the item that is normally in this dungeon anywhere in this dungeon, because you thought it was randomized.
Well, I'm not sure if we're seeing a spooky setup for Pikapals here. I didn't see the dash particles, and there are many different setups to set up the spooky action at a distance glitch. We'll see it. Yeah, it looks like he's not going to bother today. Although you can
load the box all the way through. I'm sorry, you were saying?
Oh no, I was just mentioning that there are other setups like throwing a block into a pit to get that altitude value, but we're in the randomizer room for Gem. This is somewhere you would never be in a vanilla game, vanilla playthrough.
Alright, I believe you got 2 on the left, the torch, and 4 up top gets you to 7. You got Fire Bar and Fire Snake get you to 9. So that was 11? I believe big key 11 for Gem. And our first summer supporter to guess correctly was Bonsai Beer. Congratulations.
And then our love, affection, and a fun trip all the way to the top of Ganon's Tower. You know, boots not provided, so it may take you a while. Gotta love Pikapals here, though, doing the damage boost strats on Vitreous. Actually in a precarious position with that lightning, but always fun to see a D-boost, Vitty.
Yeah, pushing through, lacking those silvers is just another factor that's going to slow him down here. Meanwhile, Gem slows it down for just a second to make sure he gets across that bridge. Into the gauntlet proper.
Yeah, interestingly enough, not taking a refill at Ganon Ball Z since he has such huge stats as far as health and armor go. Really no reason to with half magic either.
And with the equipment you have, it really only represents time. Yeah, just burning on through here. Butter Sword really helping along, as well as those silver arrows, and we are through. Meanwhile, Pikapals taking the painful trip up Death Mountain here as the cabbage are in force. Wizard Room.
Yeah, making short work of him with the Canis Mario. Definitely the best weapon to use here. And you can just drop the block here to take out Wizards too.
Go, dashing through the Torosu.
Yeah, if you want something interesting in your life, checking out the enemy glossary for this game. There's some funny names. I don't even know how you're supposed to say Zazax. Zazax?
I always say Zazak. Like Pat Sajak, but who knows?
You're probably not wrong.
I haven't the slightest clue. Man, we've got Popos and Ropas and Zazaks. All sorts of fun stuff.
Maybe that'll be the $1 million question if you want to be a million rupee-aire in Hyrule. You know, how is this actually supposed to be pronounced? I don't even think phoning a friend would be useful there.
Yeah. Unless they give you the teletile and you end up talking to Sahasrara, he probably knows a thing or two, right?
There you go. Hyrule Game Show is coming up next.
Easy Moldorm 2 fight there from Gem. Gonna skip right by that last chest. He's got all the equipment he could possibly want.
Pretty decent chance it would have been a vanilla Big 20 anyway. Well, Aghanim 2 is not actually a refight today, but he will be pretty standard for us. The RNG for this boss fight is always consistent between both races, unless you die, which would be the worst case scenario, as it would be random after that. The center one's the only one that can do the blue ball attack and needs 6 total attacks to take it down. So 3-cycle possibility here for Gem.
Yep. There it goes.
All right, well, Gem's just got to take on the big pig, and he will have this race game 1 in the bag. Pikapals in Eternal Rock still making pretty good time despite some of the setbacks of this race.
Yeah, now that he's in go mode, he is in fact going as such. Gem's dropping in now. Let's see what pithy thing Ganon tells us today.
Wait a second. You can't hum while you're holding your nose? I don't think that's true. You just buzz like an idiot.
We get some nice dash strats out of Ganon here, or out of Gem on Ganon here.
Yeah, I gotta ask though.
Time in the inner circle.
Do you think the devs were thinking of commentators when they did that and just hoping we'd make fools of ourselves?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Well, this is pretty straightforward, though. As you mentioned, Gold Sword makes this a little overkill.
Yeah, we're into Phase 4 already. Just moments into this fight, basically. Oh, just missing the glitch, but really no matter.
Yeah, effectively good for a quick kill, but I mean, it's still pretty fat.
Yeah, 2 doubles. Great stuff from Gem here. Get your GGs in the chat. He just has to make it across the bridge. Don't go too early. That's good for first place.
Yep, Gem.
Official time,
Sorry.
1 hour, 37 minutes, and 50 seconds. So GG's to him. Gonna take this game 1. Game 2 tomorrow. Game 3, I believe, tomorrow as well, if necessary.
Yeah, so we have a 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time start time here on Speed Gaming. You definitely want to follow the channel if you want to make sure you're tuned in for that. And then if necessary, it'll immediately follow that slot starting at 3:30, but of course it would depend on when they would finish the race. So that's game 3 if necessary. But we will have our finals sorted out by the end of this weekend. Well, looks like we were joined by Gem.
Hey, congratulations on the game 1 victory, Gem. GG.
Hello, and thanks.
Yeah, how are you feeling grabbing Kane out of Misery Mire?
I felt pretty good because I felt my sequencing paid off mostly, except for the part that defeated. But I thought you also pretty good that you would do it as well. So I kind of felt ahead at that point.
Good to note, and you certainly were executing with the usual confidence. And then with Gold Sword coming off of, what was it, South of Grove, you know, only adding to the power.
Yeah.
But I was also happy to see your patented left side skip.
Yeah. Well, I went back into Swan thinking, okay, if there's an item in the big chest, then I'm out of here.
Hey, those instincts paid off big time.
Yeah, that felt pretty good.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the seed?
Stupid pendant TT again. Can we just stop?
Yeah. Yeah, and Tahaswa not really having anything too important today, just the extra mail upgrade. But
Yeah. I mean, in the end, the sword was kind of nice in TT.
Absolutely, yeah. And for routing back to Skull Woods, it was really a lot of interesting decisions there. I think one of the ones that got a lot of oohs and ahs from chat was when you used the lake portal to check the bonk rocks after getting boots down in the southeast. And yeah, lining up that water walk out of Ice Rod Cave, going up, using the boots one more time.
Yeah, I was just planning to go straight to Zora, but then when I was swimming there, I saw that portal and was like, it's probably a good idea to check bonk rocks now. Especially since I was short on money still for Zora. I did find money, but it still wasn't enough, which kind of sucked.
Right, I think it was a big 20 out of the bonk rocks, yeah, and Zora ended up with just the heart, or was it the heart?
I believe so, yeah, either that or heart piece.
Yeah, either way, not much.
You know, at least he didn't do an all dungeons race.
Yeah.
Pikapals right now on our side of the restream is heading into Ganon's Tower as we speak, and having completed all of them and pulled the pedestal, probably feeling pretty rough about his race. So, I mean, Jem, you got game 1 in the series. Do you think this is going to impact how you handle game 2 tomorrow?
Well, I'll definitely feel somewhat confident, but I don't think I'll change my playstyle because, well, it paid off, I guess.
Now, I've been hearing that strain of thought from a lot of runners, high-profile and top-tier runners of this tournament and others. It seems to me like consistency is the key, regardless of what you're doing in a winning race. You know, you always got to stick to your guns and do the consistent plays. It certainly seems to have paid off for you today, Jem.
Yeah, I value efficient full clearing, basically, and then just doing like 1 or 2 strategic skips. Pendant Terra being one of them, another left side swan.
Yeah, I don't think we ever did see the other item out of Hera, but it's safe to say that, you know, it didn't need to be found. Also, another point of routing that comes to mind was doubling back to get to the Ice Tea Room for your Ice Rod and Ice Palace, if you can handle the word ice that many times in a row. But yeah, absolutely just stellar stuff, and if you keep this up, I don't see any reason why I won't end up seeing you in the finals for this.
Well, hopefully. Well, anything can happen still.
Yeah.
Rando after all.
It sure is.
Hopefully it'll work out well for me.
Indeed.
Hey, but, you know, stuff like, you know, Zero Cycle Arguses and our guy, I suppose, and Zero Cycle Vitreous, you know, I mean, you definitely have the execution part down, and, you know, I think that's the one gap that'll separate a lot of people, you know, who are competing for these top prizes. You know, today you definitely put it on display. Unfortunately for Pikapals, I don't think it was execution that really did him in, but hey, if everything's the same, execution wins the day, right?
That is true.
Great stuff. Well, thank you again for an excellent run in the interview, Jem. You're welcome to stay, or if you got any final thoughts you want to share. Otherwise, you are free to go.
Well, yeah, I'll share a final thought. As you shared again, I just just don't want any more pendant thief stones. I think, like, maybe except for 1 or 2 races in this tourney, all my seeds have been pendant thieves, and just make it stop, please.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, obviously the seed itself is randomized, but when there's factors of the experience that seem to recur, it makes you wonder. But, yeah. And
nobody would ever find a vanilla hook shot.
Yeah, that's up to that.
Yeah. Yeah, fewer pendant thieves and more left side skips. But thanks again, Jem, and best of luck tomorrow with game 2.
Thanks. And yeah, thanks for commentating, guys. And
pleasure.
thanks to our tracker. It's Miss Metroid, I think.
It sure is, yes. Thank you again to our tracker, Miss Metroid, who's been keeping things up to date here, letting us know the difference between having the silvers and not, graphically speaking.
Hey, it helps us sound a little bit less like, well, it helps me sound a little bit less like adult. Politicos always sounds good on the mic. But,
Shucks.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Jem,
My big one
thanks
is I always
for
forget the
putting on
medallions. But yeah.
Alright, but yeah, thanks again, and
Yep.
see ya.
Thanks and good luck.
Well, he still does have Game 2 to get through. Jem will be joining us, of course, tomorrow with Pikapals at 1:30 p.m. We gotta appreciate the, the grit from Pikapals, making sure he finishes out this seed and giving us a little bit more to watch, which is always nice. Gauntlet, of course, being one of the most fun places in the entire game to watch.
Yeah, really well, the Gauntlet, because it focuses on your execution, and Pikapals, as you say, putting it on display, getting the land mode 2 in short order with the fire rod as well.
Making his way upstairs to take on these Wizrobes. Wizrobes, of course, being both an enemy in this game and the progenitor of some very difficult Plandomizers that I highly encourage people to try, but maybe not worry about completing.
And to answer a concern in chat, as tracker's already on it, if you don't see the chat, we do have Game 2 tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern, followed by Game 3 if necessary, with a scheduled start time of 3:30, but given a long seed, that is the earliest it would start.
Yeah, we do permit our runners to take a break between if they wish to. A lot of runners don't, but I mean, 5-10 minutes maybe. So great opportunity for you if you want to get a nice afternoon of Randomizer in and watch the what's going to seed us into the finals and get prepared for that. Kind of kick back, grab some, barbecue. It's Sunday, right? There's still time. Summer's not over yet. I suppose that's very much a regional kind of reference. If you're in the States, summer's definitely not over yet.
Indeed, indeed.
Well, that's Moldorm 2, and of course, Vanilla Big 20 Chest, Pikapals knows he's already lost the race at this point. May choose to actually pick this up.
$50.
So there you go. It is a little over, it's 2.5 times the vanilla value there. Onwards to Aghanim 2, Pikapals here. He also has the Tempered Sword for Ganon fight, which should be a much more interesting fight to watch. I really think Gold Sword is kind of boring to watch as Ganon. The 1+1 cycle that we might see from him will be really intense. That's a very highly practiced fight. And Pikapals, of course, has run NMG as well.
Yeah, the Tempered Sword certainly giving you a more of a fight to watch. Pretty much the only determining factor on that Gold Sword fight being what you do with your boots if you have them.
Since we're bringing up the NMG stuff, want to briefly mention that Pikapals has a 1 hour, 34 minutes, and 53 second on her leaderboard for the NMG speedrun. Whereas Jem has 1:29.09. So these are very fast runners of the vanilla game and the randomizer alike. As we mentioned before, normally it would take 6 gold sword slashes. Now it's going to be 12 tempered sword slashes or the equivalent sword spins. We try to do a sword spin here between the Trident and Ganon to get an extra spin in. And that should give him enough for a perfect first cycle. Second cycle, a little more challenging. But with the use of the hookshot for iframes, should have no problems.
You did take one hit from the bats. He's down to 1.5 hearts. He's going to want to be very careful. I believe he still has potions in the barrel, but gets out of phase 2. Oh no! I have not seen any runner pick up any fairies this race. And
I was
indeed,
convinced he was going to heal.
yeah. I mean, most likely knowing the outcome of the race at this point, probably also not necessarily too intent on getting out the potions.
Yeah, fair enough. And hey, if you can finish the fight without even worrying about, healing, that's a bunch of menus you get to save. You look really sweet doing it. He gets really favorable RNG from not having finished up the first phase in one cycle. This does give him the chance to just do sword spins here in the corner. Very easy to finish that off, that second phase off.
Yeah, able to not only double up damage, but leverage multiple hits in each of the spins, so really cuts it down.
It's certainly the most favorable RNG if you do miss that first one cycle. Moving on to phase 3, though, we just need to hit him 4 times to knock out the floor. He seems to have a bit of a temper tantrum halfway through the fight. And of course, this is the source of the most trouble with Ganon people tend to have. He does not have silver arrows, so we're going to need 12 total sword spins in order to do this. He actually stuns Ganon to get the torch glitch, which seems to be a pretty smart decision.
Yeah, definitely a nice move. You don't want to take one of those bats while you're waiting for the torch to go out. Often it's going to knock you to the left and right into that pit.
Now, there is an advanced strategy that I recommend people practice. It's definitely not something you just throw out in the middle of a race. You can actually get 3 spins per lighting of the torch if you use the fire rod while you have the sword outstretched. It takes some practice to kind of figure out the positions of Ganon, but if you do it right and you don't waste too much magic, you can do it even without half magic.
Yeah, just another one of those little efficiency things you can squeeze out of this fight. Down goes Ganon.
Certainly good enough for the kill.
Yeah, get your GGs in for Pikapals, sticking this one out. Crosses the bridge, gets second place with a time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 28 seconds.
And we will also see if Pikapals is willing to join us for an interview, as he does have his game 2 tomorrow with Gem. May have some thoughts to share with us on that. All right, looks like we have him in the waiting room. Go ahead and pull him in. And we are joined by Pikapals. GG, and congratulations on finishing up the seed.
Yeah, GG. GG, Pika. Tough break on investing the time into those pendants, but honestly, we were all starting to wonder just how big that was going to work out for you until Gem ended up finding that flute.
Yeah, that was kind of just everything going bad all at the same time.
Yeah, noting your SRL comment, sort of comparing the race as a microcosm to your Spike Cave trip, which, of course, probably I don't want to say a highlight, but a moment of most emotional attachment, I think would be the clearest way to say it. The entire chat just feeling for you as you were so off those spikes. What even was that, man?
I have no idea. My character model was off that.
That happens. And I guess that's one of the trickier things that can pop up visually is when you're playing those custom sprites. It can look a little bit different than the hitbox behind them. But yeah, a tough break in this one.
Yeah, at least it wasn't anything required, but still didn't feel good.
Yeah, not at all. But overall, I mean, I will say, apart from the death on Ganon, which in the circumstances probably, whatever, but execution-wise, great stuff. Relatively consistent throughout, and, putting on the show for the boss fights and all that. So, a different seed tomorrow for Game 2, and the same quality of play, and I think you still have a chance at this thing, so looking forward to it.
Hey, man.
Yeah,
After you climb 4 qualifiers, I think you've earned your place here.
Yeah.
Pikapals, though, I mean, do you have any major plans to, try and do things differently? Obviously, you don't have to tell us your battle plans necessarily, but I mean, do you plan on approaching the seed differently tomorrow?
Possibly a bit. Like, a lot of the choices I was making was based off the fact that I died halfway through, or at the end of Spike Cave. And so yeah, that would probably change things a bit, maybe.
Yeah, I really got to admire the gumption to go into Spike Cave in that situation, though. I mean, you had calculated that down to the quarter heart.
Yeah, or at least I thought I did.
Yeah, I mean, one
I was
pixel,
so
that's close.
confident. It's like that blue potion was sitting there specifically for that reason.
Yeah, and we didn't have any need to go to the right side of Palace of Darkness either. I mean, that mushroom didn't turn up anything, did it? That was bombs, I think.
Yeah, that was just bombs.
Yeah.
Yes. That made it end up making a lot of sense to use the potions the way you did. Well, I think that boldness is definitely something that can, reward you in this tournament. Unfortunately, today just kind of led you to clearing more than you had to. But, I mean, this was definitely in contention for the bulk majority of it. I'm really excited to see this game, too.
Yeah, hopefully it goes better.
Yeah, everyone's pulling for you, and if you have any other final thoughts, by all means. If not, I think we'll wrap it up here.
No, just GG to Jim. Hope next race goes better.
Indeed. GG again. Thank you for the run in the interview. Thank you again to Ms. Metroid, our tracker, to my commentator, Udai Monistic, and to you, chat, for tuning in. I'll give Udai the last word.
Thank you. To echo those same sentiments, and also thank you to Speed Game for hosting this tournament, Twitch for sponsoring it, and for all of you as the viewers for tuning in. Really appreciate that you guys would share your eyeballs and, of course, your brains, because we do think these things out together as a team as we see these races unfold. As Mepipoliticos mentioned, I'm Udai Monistic. It has been a pleasure to cast for you folks today. Until next time, tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll see you next mission.
Later.